What's good, good people? Welcome back to another episode of the Family Bloodline Podcast. Yeah, we here. It is your boy, your host, Jay Glass, the Movement. I'm back. I'm starting to feel a bit better. You should be able to hear it in my voice. I love that. It's a hey. What I'm gonna tell everybody right now is that pneumonia is crazy. Pneumonia is absolutely crazy, and it does not just. I think this is the first time I've ever had pneumonia, and I don't like it. I don't like it much at all. But for everybody who's out here in these TikTok streets and you want to hop onto the stream later on tonight, by all means, I will post the actual link that you can jump on at because I'm not going to be taking guests on TikTok, but I'll take guests on my StreamYard account. Right. And so, hey, what's going on, Richard? Thanks for hopping on. I'm about to start posting the link for folks on TikTok if they want to come on over to either YouTube or uh, actually hop in the link on StreamYard to give their opinions and their comments, so on and so forth, about the topic of tonight. They will have the ability to. I don't really take many guests on TikTok because it is a bit of a TikTok's a nuisance. So, but we will bring in our guest of the hour right now. Welcome in, sis. Just a brown girl in America. Good to see you here. Give you
How
some
you
round
doing?
of applause. Doing great. I am doing well. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm well.
Good. That's good.
Awesome as usual.
Yeah, I love it. I'm gonna switch these boxes up a little bit because we always put our sisters first. So we will have you there. Have you streaming up top. There you are. You're back with us. And yeah, I like your background, by the way.
Right on.
That's super
Thanks.
cute.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So as I told you before, we have my brother on right now, Richard, my co-host. He'll be on shortly. He probably got stuck at work a little bit this evening. So, but I'm sure he'll be on with us in a little bit. So before we jump right into it, let's start off with the civilities, as it were, and then I'll put out the ground rules for this evening. Um, and then I'll lay out essentially some of the topics that we'll talk about, and then you can lay out where you are for your vote. So, just as a reminder to everybody, tonight's topic is a case for your vote. We have Harris supporter, VP Harris supporters. We have former President Trump supporters, and we have people who are in between that are listening and who will be joining, hopefully sooner or later. And so, again, I'll start with the pleasantries, which will be how has everyone's evening been thus far?
It's been good. I will not, cannot complain.
Good.
My night's just beginning.
That's what's up. I dig it. I like it. Rich, how about you?
Same here.
Yeah, pretty simple.
Simple.
All right, good. That's good to hear. Everybody sounds and seems to be healthy and happy and progressing, moving forward. And that's how we like it. We'll keep it that way. So the ground rules for this evening, and I'll remind other people as they hop on and they join. But this isn't a case or a place to be to be rude or pervasive or send out ad hominems to one another. It's really just a place to try and have dialogue and understand where the others are coming from, right? Uh,
Mhm.
and figure out their background, their reasonings behind their happenings, as it were. So it's not, again, not a place for ad hominem. And what we want to do is we want to make sure we outline facts uh, and separate that between from fact and opinion, which is okay. And we have to make sure we keep each other honest, squared up, and on the level, so that we can all proceed purposely, cautiously, and a bit more intelligently and intellectually after the conversation ends. Some of the things I'd like to cover, and this doesn't have to be a line direct. Excuse me, I'm getting over pneumonia. So, but this doesn't have to be aligned directly with your candidate. But I hope that when you're talking about some of the topics, it will take on some of the more edgier aspects of what your candidate is pushing or sees or has in mind. What's going on, Unc? So that's where we are right now. Quick, easy ground rules, adult rules. Don't again, does just be civil. I think it's okay for us to be civil and just live and be alive and be okay with that. We don't have to agree with each other to 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 hear each other out at the end of the day, especially in our culture. I think we make an easy case for the opinion train to move into what's loosely tied to fact, but is already what is always directly tied to the court of public opinion and somebody being held found guilty or not. So, all right. So some of the topics you okay over there, Deuce?
Man, hold on. I see Richard writing notes, man. I'm trying to get all my stuff together, man. Look, I had to go get a notebook. I had to go get my.
Let me go off video first.
I got some water so I can speak.
Let me go off
My
video
girl,
first.
she got her boomerang headset on. I'm like, hold on, man. I'm in the class
Hey,
right
you
now.
better get
Let me
in on
get ready.
this. Right. People been ready. So we're gonna talk a little bit about we'll talk about the economy, we'll talk about the border / immigration, we'll talk about a little bit January 6th, we'll talk about some civil rights stuff, foreign affairs, and then of course freedom of speech. And however you feel your candidate has pushed their platform, what you've heard and what you think should bring merit to cause you to vote for them. All right. And of course, there's always open discussion as well as the promotion of asking each other questions to see where we're getting that information. And if you have time, if you don't have the actual answers or facts directly off the top of your head, it's okay to pause for a second and look some stuff up. Right? I'm not holding anybody's feet to the fire to be 100% correct. And the reason why that is I know how politics work. Let's be honest about the situation. Neither politician, no politicians are going to give you everything 100%. They're going to stop at that 70, 65, 70% line to where it sounds good for you. And they're just going to give you the good part of what they think their policy should be without saying what what all of the effects are from their causes. So with that being said, y'all about ready to jump into it?
Let's get it. We got what, an hour?
We got
Got
about
me
an hour.
tonight. Got me tonight.
All right, perfect. So I'll start it out. I ask everybody a question. The first question is going to be, of course, where y'all standing at? Who are y'all voting for? And have you voted, or are early voting started in your area? Sis, we'll start with you.
No, I don't think we have early vote. I don't think Missouri has early voting. I'm not sure about that, but no, I have not voted. But yes, I will be casting my vote for former President Donald J. Trump this year. So that's where I'm at.
All right, Rich. What about you? Where you at with it?
I voted already in the state of
Okay.
California. Absentee ballots go out. I voted. I have a photocopy, deuce of how I voted. All that stuff you right there. And I voted not for former President Donald Trump. I did not vote for current Vice President Kamala Harris. I voted for Dr. West.
Oh man, that's okay. We
Interesting.
go back to
Okay,
that.
that's really Okay.
You didn't see that coming, did you, Deuce?
You threw him a
I don't
boomerang.
know. I don't know just a brown girl. I don't know her. So until I can fill her out, I have to just, So
All right. Deuce, where you at?
Well, I didn't think that we're going to have a third candidate in here. So that makes it interesting.
It does.
Yeah. So I'm going for Kamala. So that's who my votes for. I haven't voted yet. I think they do early voting here. But I'm just gonna take that day. I'm never running away from a day off, so I'm gonna take that day off to go vote.
All right, perfect. I have decided who I'm voting for. I just got to figure out how I'm going to do it. I'm supposed to actually be out in California on the 1st. So early. I'm in Kentucky now, and early voting starts in Kentucky on the 31st. So I don't know if I'll be off by the time polling opens or closes, but I'm going to try and figure it out because I also have class going on that day, so I can't just take off work. So I might have to figure out how to get away at lunch time and cast my vote and then make my way back. And plus, I'm on the podium actually instructing, so I've got to definitely figure out how to do that. But with all of the reading that I've done, I will probably, well, not probably, I don't want to half step it. I will be casting my vote for VP Harris this election cycle.
I got a quick antidote on what you were talking about right there. I was talking to a friend the other day, and she lives in one state. She's registered in another state. And she was saying, kind of similar, it's hard to get there. So she said, maybe I could just get my sister to vote for me. Technically, that's not voter fraud. I was like, you're right. Technically, it's not. It actually is. So you are right. Technically, it's not. It actually is. So it just reminded me of that.
And so what you can do, what is actually legal, is if you do cast your vote, right, but you have somebody who either lives with you or father-in-law, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, a relative, mother, father, brother, sister, uncle, somebody, so on and so forth, they can actually take your vote to the polling station for you. That is still a thing. I know that there are some politicians who don't like it. I get it. But it was never shut down. I see you shaking your head, just a brown girl. Why do you disagree with that?
That's crazy. Like,
Why?
that is not how this should go. Like, you should not be able to do that. That's how you get election fraud. That's how you get cheating. That's how you getting people like doing nefarious things. That's just not cool. Elections should be one day, first of all. I don't even, think people should be, unless you can't get there, the absentee, like the elderly, things like that. But if you willing and able, just like everything else a federal holiday, every whatever is a federal holiday, make voting day a federal holiday. People get off and go vote. Like, what's the problem? And why we got all this electronic stuff going on? We got phones being hacked, all banks being hacked. So no, I don't like that. That's not good.
Okay. All right. Any takers on that?
Yeah, I'll take that. She makes a great point about having a federal holiday.
Sure.
Getting all the votes counted in one day, I'm not going to argue that for or against, but a federal holiday, ensuring that all jobs are off that day, so there's no excuse. But I want to push back with a suggestion, and this is where I may catch Justin Brown or Deuce or even you, Mr. Glass. I don't understand why we can't have more absentee voting so that it gets sent to you in the mail. You fill it out, you make your copy. Here in the state of California, when I send it in, they'll send me an email saying, we got your ballot and it was counted. Did they count it correctly? Oh, I don't know. Do they send ballots out to people who may not be in the state of California legally? Maybe.
Maybe.
I wonder why.
Yeah, I'm going to leave that alone. But what I will say is the state of California does want people to vote, and they'll let you vote by mail, and they'll tell you that they counted your vote. So there should be some type of transparency over how you voted. But I know that a lot of African Americans refuse to vote by mail, which doesn't make sense to me unless they're in their 60s or older. But the same people in their 60s or older who refuse to vote by mail are the same people who won't pay their bills online, but will write a check and put the bill in the mail. See, I've been waiting to drop that line. But older Black people are my elders, and I'm probably talking about my aunties and uncles who are still alive.
Sure.
I can't tell them anything.
Well, of course not, right? You can't, and I hate to say it this way, but you can't tell an asshole shit, right? So
I think with them, it might be more that they just not comfortable using online. That's from what I hear from like my elders. It's always a pushback. Now, when they want that Cash App, they figured out how to use that.
So you're right.
My dad don't even trust Cash App.
In the mail, and you can make a copy.
Yeah, I know a lot of that don't trust that either.
Yeah.
Well, but people say they don't trust sending the ballots back in the mail. When I get my ballot in the mail and I fill it out, make a copy of it, I take the ballot down there to the registrar's office as if I was voting in person.
Okay.
And so if anything comes up on November 5th, I don't have to worry about it. I got my ballot a few weeks ago. I filled it out in the comfort of my own place where I live. Where versus being rushed, when you go down there and you vote in person, you see all these different ballot measures or whatever. Each state is different. Each county is different. And so you're trying to hurry up and fill that stuff in. But I do it in where I live, and then I can take it down there. But I have a copy. And I've been doing this since 2012 because some people were accusing me of supporting certain parties over other parties. I used to be a registered Democrat. I left the Democratic Party because there are certain things that they were doing that I don't agree with. There's certain things the Republican Party does that I do agree with, but I can't agree with everything neither party does, but they don't give a third, fourth, or fifth option.
Well, they do.
I'll stop there.
Yeah, they do. So just to go back, just go ahead, do what you got.
Go ahead with your point because my side eye was to your point, but go ahead.
All right. So I think that the reason why I don't think it's actually feasible for us to count all the polls in one day and do it ethically. I think we'd miss too much, especially if for the places that are not using digitized balloting, right? If we were to switch over, and this is just one of those things that we're never going to please everybody with one specific thing, right? Some people are more used to, like our elders, the actual hard ballot, and some people prefer digitized, right? So I think when it comes to that, you got to get in where you kind of fit in, and unfortunately, we don't control everything individually, so we got to hope for the best and pray that our fellow countrymen have our best interest at heart at the end of the day, regardless of how we might cast our vote. Now, the human and anxious part in me says I don't trust people because people are people, but for the greater good, I would hope that my vote wouldn't be lost because somebody doesn't like the way I cast my vote, especially here in Kentucky, because they're not going to like the way I cast my vote. And, well, 2 tears in a bucket. It is what it's going to be. So, but Deuce, what were you about to say?
All right. So, a couple of points. I'm trying to make them quick. To the 1 day voting, we have 334 million people in the country, and 11% of them are under the poverty line, which we know the poverty line is really low. I'm not under the poverty line, but sometimes I feel impoverished, right? So that's 37 million that will have a difficult time getting to that place. And imagine you shut the country down, no Ubers, no taxis, etc. It's too difficult. I think it should be more days allotted for that. I am for electronic voting. I pay my taxes electronically. I wish somebody would hack and give me more money. That'd be nice. It hasn't happened yet. But when I pay the government, that system has gone without fail. And I know Justice Bronger didn't bring this up, but I am a proponent of positive ID voting.
Okay.
I was just going to ask, did they ask him for an ID when he got there? Because Richard, you from California.
Right. No, when I'm already registered. Illegal. No, when I take my absentee ballot down there, I just drop it in the box because I'm already registered as a voter for this address. So, how did I even get an absentee ballot? When I got a driver's license in the state of California, they automatically are going to start sending you the ballot and asking you if you want to be an absentee voter automatically.
And I think that's funny how the driver's license triggers that, but we can't use that to verify if the person's voting. Now, how they can do that electronically is the same way they identify me when I do my taxes, right? The system exists. They can utilize that. Those are my 2 key points. And then, Glass, when Richard was saying, wish it was more parties, I think you were nodding your head yes. I do feel, I wish we had a ranking system where, like, say, if more people voted for Dr. West, I know in Alabama one year, I think when Trump first went, people wrote Nick Saban on there. in Alabama, right? So I wish there was a ranking system that can take all the ranks from the states, and then you
Sure.
get your vote that way. Kind of break up these parties, because I'm a Democrat, but there's some things with the Republicans, specifically the pre-Tea Party Republicans I like. So those core Republicans, there's some things I identify with. There's some things I don't like with the Democratic Party, but I'm still Democratic because you have to identify as Democratic, Republican, or what, Green Party?
You
have
don't.
to.
You can
No.
be independent, but the way the ticket works, I do hate that too. I hate that you can vote straight down Democratic or Republican for everybody. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Because there might be a Republican for another position. I'm like, I like the way he or she thinks. I like what they rock with. But I think people, and especially us Americans, we like the easy way, that check, Democrat, check Republican.
But I think the only time where you have to vote straight ticket is for the U.S. president, because the vice president is attached to the president. So if you liked, that's the one situation where you say, hey, I wish I could vote for someone from another party for my vice. They don't give you that option.
What do you
And
mean
I have the right.
when you saying? Because on my ballot, like I have a sample ballot, we get the sample ballots we could pre-fill out, go look. But we have, it's everything, everybody on there. So what do you guys? I'm just trying to get a better understanding, because we all like.
So when I got my ballot, hold on, I just had it up. When I get my ballot here in the state of California, because every state runs their elections process
a little differently.
Yeah, by the U.S. Constitution, they have that right. So on my ballot for U.S. president, I got Kennedy Jr. As an American independent, and then Nicole Shanahan. Then I got Chase Oliver and Mike Tiermat, Libertarian. Jill Stein, Rudolph Ware, Green Party. Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, Republican. Claudia De La Cruz and Karina Garcia, Peace and Freedom. And then Kamala D. Harris, Tim Walz, Democrat.
Wait a minute,
So,
what'd you say? Peace and free what?
Peace and Freedom Party.
Yeah.
And so because Dr. West didn't get enough votes to be put on the ballot for the state of California, I had to write in his name in the bottom block, scribble it in, and write Dr. Carnell West for president, Dr. Melina Abdullah for vice president. Now, the rest of my ballot, it'll tell me if that person, if it's a political party position, if I want to vote for a Democrat or a Republican.
Okay.
Oh, you're saying because the president and the VP are linked?
That's right. So you can't separate those. Currently, you can't separate those out.
I feel like trying to separate the VP is like trying to vote for the backup quarterback to be in the Pro Bowl or something. They're just sitting there until the president gets injured or incapacitated.
We think that until recently. Like, a lot of people didn't think about that until we was one heartbeat away from Kamala Harris being the president of the United States. I think now a lot of people are really focused on the VP, because this did it too. Donald not that young either. So a lot of people are focused on the VP because we seen Biden and what could happen, and she literally could have been president. And just think, like a year ago they hated her, so she was installed. That's fine. We'll get to that later. But what I'm saying is, you got to look at it now, because that's terrifying. If you're not tripping off the VP, and which we haven't been in past recent, but I don't know about you guys. I'm saying for me, more recently, just watching Biden, I do look at Vance or whoever next coming up like, wait a minute, you know what I mean? What's going on here? Is he capable? Because it's kind of important if something happened.
Well, that goes along with something that I've been saying about the face of our politicians for a long time, which is we've got to get away from old white men being in the White House. But that's another story for another time. We'll pass on that. But let's get into the major topics. The housing. Let's talk about housing. Your candidate's approach to housing and why you agree with it or why we disagree with it. And let's hit that real quick. So what is Trump's policy? What is his take on housing at the current moment?
Honestly, at the current moment, what I do know about Trump, I'm not going to say he's mentioned specific just housing, but what I do know is when he talks about the economy and when he talks about, how he going to get everything regulated, take a lot of those regulations off, get us kind of back to where we was going, that's all going to fall right under it. That's pretty much the thinking. Now, I haven't heard, now it could be out there, but I haven't heard him just because I watch everybody speeches, whoever, Kamala's, I've listened to Jill's, I've listened to him, you know what I mean? So I can't say if I can remember that's something that he might have mentioned it in passing or whatever, that he's just said, I'm going to do this for housing. But what I do know is that he is going to make sure that housing is being able to be built in this country and it's going to be affordable because he won't be letting these big millionaires come in these neighborhoods and buy them out and keep people as renters.
Well, when you said that, remember, like one of the reasons why we're in the housing crisis or crunch now that we're in is because during the Trump administration, the corporations did begin to buy a lot of the housing market up in vast droves, which forced a lot of Americans to pushed a lot of Americans into the renting game because they couldn't afford what the housing market looked like at the time. Uh, so I don't know based off of past behavior if he will directly cut corporations off from making these tons of purchases of housing and kind of it's still happening actually, and cornering the average American to rent. And then with that being said, not having cap on rent. Look at the California market for rent. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I know that that's a state issue, but
I was
rent.
going to say it feels like that should be more of a state type thing because Gavin Newsom has absolutely ruined California.
I wouldn't put
Sorry,
directly
Richard.
on. No, he's not a new.
Uh,
I'll say that for him. And I wouldn't.
what you say?
I said he's not a Newsom advocate by any stretch, and I wouldn't put it directly on Newsom at all. And I'll mention something at the end of the podcast that will make that statement make a bit more sense. But I'll push forward. Who else is in on this housing?
Well, hold on. Let me go back because you were saying because we always we do like people like to say in his administration. You have to remember we had a pandemic. We did have COVID, so a lot of that stuff affected a lot of stuff towards the end of that administration. So I don't know. I can't say what a lot of other, people say what he did during the pandemic, but nobody's actually telling me what the Dems would have done different. That was a worldwide global crisis. So it's kind of hard to gauge,
Yeah. Go ahead, Deuce.
I know. So one thing that's conflicting for me, right, with Trump's ideals on housing, when he says deregulation and affordable housing, those two things can't exist together. Because like in California, when I first got there, I was on like the below market rate program, which is a regulated thing. Man, I was good then, boy. It's a regulated thing to allow people who don't make that much to live in better developments. So if you deregulate that, those are one of the things you're taking away. Now, there's pros and cons.
Don't quote. Remember, I said I never directly heard him say any of these things. What I'm saying is I know what his belief system is when it comes to, because a lot of this housing crisis is government control. Like a lot of the stuff we're going through is government control.
I'm sorry. When I say I meant Trump. I know he did say deregulation, and I agree.
Yeah, but that's for a lot of entities, not just. That's why I say I don't want to say he specifically said. I haven't heard him say specifically mention housing in itself. I just know as far as deregulation and trying to get government out of a lot of stuff where it don't need to be. That's how I know that's what he thinks. I know that's how his mind works. But don't quote me on him saying I'm gonna do this for housing.
I'm not quoting you on that. I know he in Agenda 47 it mentions deregulation and housing. So I'm agreeing with you there. I'm not putting that on you. And like I said, there's pros and cons with deregulation. The cons will hurt a subset of the population it will help others. And I think also if you remove that regulation, it allows corporations to come in, to swoop in and buy up more housing.
Yeah, and
But it also makes it easy for us. But
I don't
yeah.
think that's, I don't think, just me, as far as like
Mhm.
housing, I don't think because I would touch, when we talk about regulations and government touch that. Now, I used to be a property manager at a tax credit
Mhm.
property. They rent, them people still did what they want to do. The rent still went up. It still kept going up. They were added on. We got to get these people to market. Like people, and I'm talking about in the states and the cities and they local counties, these people be doing what they want to do.
It's the
A lot of
the local governments, yeah.
you know what I mean? So I've watched them do that. I'm like, we're going to take the rent up again. And they doing it because they feel like they got to get them to market. But I'm thinking we're not supposed to be like, it's not capped is basically my point. Like their
Right.
rents literally
Right.
keep going up. I was
Yeah.
adding rent increase because they increasing it slowly by $10 here, $10 here.
Yeah. They're boiling the
That make
frog.
them feel better.
Absolutely. Richard, did you have something to say about the housing? You muted.
Yeah.
All right.
This is tricky for me.
Okay.
When I went to Dr. West's website
Mm-hmm.
to see what he said about housing, his answer doesn't surprise me. But he's really talking about to abolish homelessness means to embrace our homeless brothers and sisters with warmth of our concern and the strength of our actions. So he's talking about righteous love, in my opinion. Then he
Sure.
says, it means building a nation where every person has a sanctuary, a home to call their own, coupled with the mental health and substance abuse treatments that address the roots of despair. So he's basically, in my opinion, what he's saying is he wants everyone to have housing. And if you have a health problem or abuse problem, he wants a facility created to address that. For some people, that sounds like outright
Socialism.
Here's
You
my
mean just
problem.
giving everybody housing?
Well, here's
No
my
matter
problem.
what?
Kind of, in a sense, yes. And then we get to the immigration. I'll come back to what he says about immigration. Here's my thing. If you ask me righteously, should we take care of our people in our country? I'm going to tell you yes every day, regardless of my military service,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of that. So if you can afford to send billions upon billions to Ukraine, to Iraq, Afghanistan, Israel, trying to protect themselves, you can send billions upon billions without batting an eye. But when it comes to taking care of your own people, you're slow to move. And
That's
this is where
disgusting.
the former president Donald Trump is making tons of votes.
But
you have to take care of your family. You got to take care of your homeland first before you try to go out and save the rest of the world. And when you tell your own people, whether it's in housing, whether it's in universal health care, the Republicans don't even agree with that. Or when they go through natural disasters in southern Florida up the entire East Coast, when you tell people we don't have enough money to address your needs, but we can continue to print money out of thin air from the Federal Reserve that we borrow from these private bankers and send money across the ocean, and if need be, send our boys and girls across the ocean to die for a cause, then what are you really telling us?
Well, I think that's a righteous statement to make. However, the actual mechanics of how, and this is a great segue to economics, but the actual mechanics of how budgetary appropriations works doesn't work that way. It really doesn't work that way.
I disagree.
I got it, but the truth of the matter is appropriations are done, right? We're in the fiscal AO right now. We just started a new fiscal year, right? And for the military, all of us have had to go back at the end of September, crunch numbers, so we can get it sent up to DA, so they can take it to DOD, so it can be taken to Secretary of State, so on and so forth, so that Congress can pass an appropriations bill and budget for the FY. Now, the monies that we're running off of, or we were running off of for September, were from the year prior, right? Not just that, but those lines of accounting don't cross. They don't necessarily cross. And if you're taking money, right, monies that are being sent to Ukraine or any other front for any type of contingency operations has nothing to do with funding immigrants here at home, which has nothing to do with what VP Harris was talking about for her actual housing plan.
Brother, do you
So-
understand that the American people do not care about where the money came from, where it came from? And I'm just saying why they losing. I'm saying where it came from. The people will need to be taken care of. We don't care where it came from. We ain't thinking about all that. What we see is all the illegal aliens coming in here, getting these cars, getting money, getting businesses, they doing it right in my face across the street. I've watched them work on a damn burnt up house, move into it. Now all of a sudden they got like all type of stuff. My whole night, like no, like at that point nobody cares.
Right.
And where it's allocated from, because now I don't even believe, reparations. They do it, I get it. Only reason I don't really trip on it because I know they're not gonna do it, so it's a waste of my time.
Well, people
go back to
but now they should. Now I'm looking at it like, if you can do that.
Let me make this statement real quick, because there's always a lot of emotional bravado when it comes to where the money comes from. But you're going to be destroyed because of a lack of knowledge, right? Your high level of sensitivity, America's high level of sensitivity, it is not bridging the gap of intelligence. And that's where we're getting stuff jacked up. Just because we have a lot of fervor, because I'd rather take care of my own countrymen before we take care of anybody anywhere else in the world. Right. I agree with that sentiment 100%. But if you don't know how it's taken care of, you don't know who you're supposed to be voting for to get what you want done. That's the issue. That's the problem. If you don't understand that Congress controls the person, it's not the president, well, then all that emotion is going nowhere.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second.
We do understand that.
But wait a minute. No, wait. I'm going to address that about that emotion.
Yeah.
Because number one, Congress gets its money from the Fed. Congress does not print up its own money. It gets its authority from a private group of bankers called the Federal Reserve.
Agreed.
Okay? December 23rd, 1913. Okay.
Agreed.
So anytime the government wants to spend money on the military or on any budget, they go to the Fed and they borrow money. Why are we borrowing money from a private group of people and then pay them back with interest? We should be printing our own money the way President Abraham Lincoln did during the Civil War. Those are facts. And he took us out of debt during the Civil War.
You're not going to have an argument against me about Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve, because I believe that we should go back to the gold standard also. Right. Okay. So that's not an argument that you'll have with me. I'm well versed in that as well. But what I'd also state is the person that I just named, Jerome Powell, the chair of the Federal Reserve, most people don't even know who the fuck that is. But a lot of people want to have that argument about budgetary constraints.
And my quick point is, as long as you keep voting for one of the two major parties, you'll never take on the status quo of this country. So when Ross Perot was running as an independent in 92, he was self-funding. He was self-funding his own campaign. So you couldn't tell him anything. But they don't want a third or a fourth option or a fifth option to successfully run. And so you continue to have the Democrats who want to, quote, use big government to give money to everybody for righteousness' sake, so they claim, or maybe that's a way to keep you into slavery. And then you have the Republicans who are saying accountability, get up off your ass and do some work, protect our borders, and do things the right way. And they claim they're coming from a righteous perspective too. So to me, the Democrats are coming from the New Testament. Let's give love to everybody. And then the Republicans, in my opinion, are coming from the Old Testament saying it's a time for peace and it's a time for war. It's a time to work and it's time to give respect to mom and dad. And they're following those 10 commandments in their eyes. In their eyes. That's what they're doing. In their eyes.
Which you got? Because I was about to say something. I'll leave it for later.
Okay.
I feel like we're playing the wrong game, man. I feel like the game is checkers, but we're trying to play backgammon, right?
Oh, wow.
To Richards and a that's a long name to say. I'm sorry. What's
my name?
Nikki. Thank you. All right. So
Brown.
I'm from Alabama. You get like 3-word sentences out of me.
Too much.
We're playing the wrong game, right? The name of the game is capitalism with everything, right?
Yeah.
You think about the people in the country that get effect in the government. are the categories of people you can't say nothing about. Jews, right? And the LGBT, forgive me, I'm a butcher the name, but that community, alphabet community, right?
Yeah.
Those are two communities, and rich white men, right? Why? Because they have the money to finance their candidates. I understand, Rich. I understand your point
the
about
rich black people.
they're not together. We're splintered.
They look together to me.
But let me finish this point though. if we got together, like say the APAC, I think is what it is. That's the ones for the Jews, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what the alphabet community has, but they have something. If we had one or two, whatever, to lump our views together, because we're not a monolith, right? To lump our views together to fund our candidates. Hey, I like the Tea Party back in the day, like the MAGA now, like the civil rights movement that we started back in the 60s. Then we can start to see some real change. Until then, both parties are going to ignore us.
I don't even really care. I love that, because that's what I always say. But the reality is, in my main concern, for the most part, is my people. That's where my main concern at. So it frustrates me because I feel like, first of all, we don't listen to each other, nothing. The women not listening to the men. The men is simping out. You got a bunch of betas. So you got a bunch of women raising boys, turning them to be women. And then nobody want to listen. Nobody in the black community want to take accountability. Nobody want to address the stuff. They want to make me think that I'm being feared and finna be lynched by cops when I'm actually scared of Rico down at the dang on Conoco. Like, that's not like real. We got to address. I don't care if we have a meeting, a letter to my people, a family meeting, but these things have to be addressed honestly. Not with all that social justice bull crap people be doing. Like, people are dying. These kids are dying. So for me, I left the Democratic Party well before Trump even ran. Like, I've been on this journey a minute when I realized what happened. And once I figured out that they weren't finna trick me into voting or doing something for something I didn't even know, because all they got fluff words, gender affirming care, all that. No. You will never sneak nothing in on me again. And that's how I actually got into kind of just looking and then being like, wait a minute, these, like, for me, honestly, I feel like if you love God and if you love Christ, there's no way you can support what the Democratic Party has been doing over these last few years. If so, we probably need to go read that book. There's no way you can agree with mutilating kids, gender affirming care. There's no way I'm finna agree with men coming in my bathroom that I've already had to deal with my daughters in there, in the sports. And you want to talk about a patriarchy. They want to get rid of the patriarchy. You voting for a person that's trying to wipe you out.
So I want to jump in, and then I'll let her go back to her social justice conversation. I want to go back to what you said about Jews. First of all, I'm speaking for myself, and I'm going to take liberty to speak for all four of us, because everything we do goes on the internet. We're not anti-Semitic. So if Israel is trying to protect itself and we have to send billions of dollars for Israel to protect itself, that is fine. If we send billions of dollars to help Ukraine protect itself, that is fine. But when our people in this country are crying out for help, whether it's through a flood, whether it's through universal health care that currently is just, quote, the Affordable Care Act, when our people, regardless of their color or their sexual orientation, when they're crying out for help and you're not providing that help, but people can come to this country illegally from across the border and get benefits, we have a problem.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that part. I don't disagree.
But they tricked us into agreeing to it. They tricked us into voting for sanctuary cities. We didn't really know what that meant. And then they called us Donald Trump racist when he brought it up. So we thought it was wrong to be concerned about the border. And then we voted for this stuff. And now they in our cities.
Where did the term sanctuary city come from?
I don't know where it came from. I know it's here. And I know that it's happening.
Okay, so where did the idea of shithole countries come from?
So you're gonna
That
act
was a
like all
that
countries
was
are
a
beautiful?
comment that
Don't do
the
that.
president.
Don't.
No, hold on, wait a minute, hold on, wait, hold on, Nikki, I got you, Nikki, hold on a second, because I can see from both sides. The shithole comment came from the former president Donald Trump in 2015 when he came down the elevator and he was giving this speech and saying, "I'm running for president." That's a great point. But what she's saying about that sanctuary city, I'm willing to guess that that word sanctuary started somewhere in California, but maybe I'm wrong. So you allow people to come across the border illegally, and then you say, well, since you're here and you're doing all this work, we're going to make sure we house you and feed you because you're providing all this labor, doing jobs that allegedly Americans won't do. I say allegedly Americans won't do, but we know in the Midwest or in the South, them same jobs Black folks were doing, but for a few dollars more.
No, I don't disagree with that. But I'm asking this for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Because we take. When's the last time anybody looked up the definition of an actual illegal immigrant and what it actually means at the border to actually request or claim asylum, or to actually go through the process of it and the time frame around it once a person crosses over from one side to another, and what type of the two type of statuses that they can claim going forward.
Wait a minute. Let's not confuse them. If a person comes to this country as a seeking political asylum, that's a different process than you just crossing the border illegally to work in the fields or in the restaurants or some other job. That's a different situation. Let's not confuse. Right. Let's not mix those two up.
I'm not talking about political asylum. I'm talking about refugee versus immigrant.
A refugee is considered a political person who's seeking asylum. A refugee, a person who crosses the border illegally just to do farm work, is not considered no refugee.
Right.
But all they have to do is say that they refugees to get here.
That's all they have to say. But they also have a year's time to actually fill out the actual documentation, and it'll be investigated for it to happen. Now, here's the issue that I have with the immigration thing, right? Because first off, I'd like somebody to name a president who's fixed the border issue. Exactly. We can't.
Would you say which issue? Because under President Trump, it was at the lowest it had ever been. He was working on fixing the border but we was talking about Congress,
but it wasn't.
They fought him at every turn because it was racist.
But it wasn't, right? He was the second or third to do it. Former President Obama was
the best. Obama was the main. He was the first one. He did the biggest deportation of them all. But now that's my whole thing. I don't like hypocrisy. So don't act like that now.
But that's what's
before.
But that's what's happening actually with the Republican Party, primarily with MAGA, because when Obama was doing it, it was an issue and he didn't even get the credit for it. Now that there's a bipartisan bill that was pushed that literally former President Trump went through and backdoored, he said it. The actual writer of the bill said it. It's actual common knowledge. Now it's a big issue.
Do you know why he did that? Or they did that? Because he's not even in office. I mean, grown men can actually do what they want to do if they're grown men. But what I'm saying is they were still sneaking. They had, 60 million? It was only a portion of that going to the border. It was still going to be 1 million people a year coming in, and the rest of it was going to Ukraine and freaking Israel or out of the country. So that's why they shut that down. Those things need to be separate.
You can say 100. I don't disagree with that either, but let's also look at the other parameters surrounding the border, which people don't, right? In order to actually begin to fix the border, we have to do several things. We have to have, and one of my good friends, he's a guy who's doing this. That's why I know a little bit about the border crisis. You actually have to have federal judges appointed at the border to try these cases. You have to do that. You have to actually beef up border security. This grandiose, fictitious idea of a wall ain't going to do shit but make people feel good at the end of the day. It's not a real thing. So it's not.
So when you say, hold on, Mr. Glass, you said earlier about the economy. Well, the Congress has to vote to spend the money here and there. So all that Congress has to do is vote to change all the regulations at the border where you don't need federal judges, where you can give the president the power to shut the border down completely and stop illegal immigration. That can be done too.
That's a difficult thing to do. 2 points.
Actually, all they got to do and right now, because the border need a lot of work. Crossing it right now is just a Band-Aid and it's an immediate emergency. We need immigration policies, period. So that's separate. But what I'm saying is the border as of right now needs to be shut down until they can sort all this stuff out. So
But
she just they didn't want to do it all this time. So if they couldn't do nothing, why should they just sign an executive order to do it now that they're running for an election and the numbers have went down? They told them people to come over here.
The thing about, like, let me focus on the wall and federal government building, because you know about eminent domain, right? So for the federal government to build on this land, the land belongs to those states. Within those states, you have those counties. So just quick, asking Chat GPT, you got California, Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas, which is a huge state that border the Mexican border. So Congress have to get permission from those governors, and those governors have to work with their Congress in order to make that happen. Then you have over like a couple of hundred counties that go along the border of Mexico. So to get that, they have to ask permission and seek permission from each one of those. That's why we don't have high-speed railroads. NorCal and SoCal have been trying to connect since before I was born, but they have to get land and permission from those landholders, which is one of the things that make America great. The fact, that you could do that, right? So that's the ideal. Just build a wall is easier said than done. And
that's
two,
not true.
That's not true. Just some of those things, but the other thing,
she just said she's going to finish building the wall. Your candidate just said she's going to finish the wall. It was in her campaign ad.
And this ties to my second point, to what James was saying. No president has ever built a wall on the border. The second point about it is it gets us emotional. It gets voters, right? That's the number one hit they never going to solve because it works. Every time election comes around, we have immigration problems. People take sides. People vote for the people. Then it gets quiet.
Real quick, and then I'll let you keep going.
People are really living through this right now. I think they are emotional, but I think they have a valid reason to be emotional right now. I do think they have a valid reason. I'm not going to disregard the communities that these people have. They have moved these people into, and that they are struggling and suffering. And we're talking about the Black communities, because of course, or disimpoverished, because I live in kind of a mixed neighborhood. It's still disimpoverished, They're like, come on, man. Y'all can't say this cool. Ain't no excuse for this.
I'm not
saying this. Nobody's saying it's cool. There are excuses. I'm not saying it's cool, but there's this checklist that they have to go through to make that happen.
No, wait a minute. First of all, when people talk like this and they say, Nikki, they say to us, "Oh, you're being emotional." No, that's an argument to try to take away from your.
It's a straw man.
No, you guys are misunderstanding my emotional point. That's not. I'm not saying you guys are wrong. I'm emotional about it too.
Glass has said it multiple times during this. This is emotional.
Yeah.
And it seems like to me, y'all might be the ones emotional.
No, wait a minute. Let me show you legally where they're wrong. When he said, Arizona, Texas, I think New Mexico,
California,
and California, next to being a border of Mexico, for national interests. If you have terrorists crossing that border, the CIA will contact, if they choose to, the appropriate people, and they will shut that border down for national interests. Period.
How would they shut it down?
They'll get the Congress to vote to say we're shutting the border down to protect our country from terrorism. Yes, they will. The same.
No, I'm not arguing that, but they're gonna put troops there, right? Troops.
However you want to do it.
Not building a wall.
Hold on. You cannot claim that we're America's leader, and we have the number one military. I'm biased, so is Mr. Glass. We have the number one military on this planet. On this planet, we have the number one military, and then you tell me we can't protect that border. That's an absolute lie. That's a lie.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about strictly building a wall.
For national interest, they can shut down that border to stop terrorists from going across that border to bomb us. Yes, they can. They did it with the Patriot Act. They did it with the Patriot Act. When 9/11 happened, they came out with that Patriot Act, and they said that Patriot Act is too intrusive, and it violates, I think, the freedom of speech, First Amendment. And they said, we don't care. And they did it anyway. The Congress said, pass it.
I'm not saying that the border can't be fixed. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying, however, is because of all the red tape, all the bureaucratic BS, and to make sure, like Deuce was saying, that at some point this is going to sway some of the population. They're not going to fix it. Make no mistake about it. I am not pro-government to the point to where I trust them. I know better. Also understand that I know that neither the Democratic nor Republican Party have a monopoly over racism nor using its people in general. Right? I am not foolish by any. I am not a registered Democrat. Never have been. And that's me. Sorry about that. And never will be, for a reason. Right? I am not a registered. I don't believe, and I've said this on multiple different occasions. Whenever you've made yourself a loyalist to a party, you've done yourself and your constitution a disservice. Right?
Now that's the truth.
We are to be loyal to the Constitution and the ideas behind the Constitution, not to our politicians. Friday, as a matter of fact, I'm going to go through and begin to read some of the things that our politicians are guilty of after paying $17 million of cases. I just found out last night that the U.S. Department of Treasury has an account set up for politicians when they get in trouble that the taxpayer funds to pay out their court issues, to pay out any monies that they would lose. We're paying for these motherfuckers. Excuse my emotion. It's not that I don't believe in having righteous emotion in our political system, but we have to funnel it and use it in the correct way. Dr. Cornel West is one of my most favorite authors in this world. I've purchased just about all of his books. My sister got one directly autographed by Dr. West himself when I was in Iraq. I love Dr. Cornel West. I wish the American people had the emotional aptitude to actually understand what that man is saying so that we could push forward and be better as a country, but we will not do it.
Can I ask a question, Richard? Because I know Jill Stein did get on. Why you didn't go with Jill Stein and you went with Mr. West? I got mad respect for Mr. West too, just by the way. So,
remember, this is where I was telling Deuce and I was telling Red. I said, you can really find out about black folks. Just watch them long enough. I voted for Jill Stein. I believe I'd have to go back. I believe I voted for her in 2016 for president, and I think I voted for her, I believe, in 2020. But when Dr. West said he was going to run, I got excited because I followed Dr. West for many years. Now, I thought that him and RFK Jr. would link up. Unfortunately, they were not able to link up because that would have been, to me, a great.
I actually thought that was pretty strange. All three of them kind of like doing their own thing, Stein, RFK, and Mr. West. I got mad respect for Mr. West. I just knew it wasn't Mr. West. They just wasn't gonna do it. Like,
but listen to the problem with that. When they enslaved Africans and brought them to America, he
has to be more. He too pro-black. Like they feel like, and I'm just saying off a regular, they feel like that. I know he got the best. I know his heart is beautiful. But my thing with Dr. West is what I think people went, because it's kind of me. He still kind of got that same, he been there a long time. So we talking about old white men, we talking about old black men. Well, we talking about a lot of people might have thought he still got this grudge, or he might have you get what I'm saying? Again, they don't know him.
Right, but here's the problem with that. As long as people keep saying who can't do what, as long as you're living in I can't do this or he can't do that, then you're denying the possibility with God. And this is what Dr. West would tell you. So when they brought the enslaved Africans over to America, they said, you'll never have your freedom. And when they told women that came to America, regardless of what race they were, you won't be voting. You're still barefoot, pregnant, and in that kitchen, you'll do as you're told. We've come a long ways. So we got to open up our minds and say, hey, a third, a fourth, or a fifth option can take place in this country, this great country with its deep character flaws.
But you need the money. A lot of people, I think will.
You gotta give them enough people. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Deuce. Go ahead.
No, I was agreeing to her point. It's once again capitalism. You got to have that money. You got to have that Brinks bank truck pull up to the back.
Hold on, Deuce. I don't want to hear y'all talk about that money, because we as black folks say we don't care how much money you throw in our face. We're gonna maintain our love for our black community, for our black identity. We will not sell out. That's what we say. So don't
That's-
talk to me about that money right now.
That's not what a lot of us say. That's what some of us say. That's what some of us say. Let's be honest about it.
All right.
Let's be
What
like,
Mr. West say about like the crime with the kids in the street killing each other and stuff? How he have he even mentioned it? He addressed that because nobody wants to talk about that.
he's addressed it throughout the ages.
I mean, I know throughout the ages, but I'm saying like on his campaign run, has he
I haven't heard it.
Said anything about it?
Let me read this to you, Nikki, from his website. You may not like this particular statement. He says here on his bullet points for his platform: uphold children's rights and justice systems, guarantee access to child-friendly, gender-sensitive justice systems that respect and protect the rights of all children, particularly those most vulnerable, including minority groups, children with disabilities, and migrant children. I don't know if you like that. What does that mean? He's saying he wants to protect children. It says guarantee access to child-friendly, gender-sensitive.
What Dr. West is saying essentially is what the Bible outlines as part of religion. That's what he's talking about.
I'm still with Nikki on that. What does that mean? How does that protect
right? Like, well, that could mean a lot of things.
That's a lot of beautiful words
too, but yeah, like, what are we talking about?
It says guarantee access to child-friendly, gender-sensitive.
No, I'm not talking about. I'm talking about the crime.
Okay,
murders.
So you go to his crime.
That's what I'm talking about. I wasn't talking. You thought I was talking about the gender. No, I'm talking about my main concern is my sons, my kids,
the crime,
the crime.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. In the black community, not just overall. I'm talking about in our community.
Okay, so do you want to know about? Okay, so wait a minute. Do you want to know about gun violence, or do you want to know about black maternal justice?
Black maternal justice.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
That's.
I'm going to his website. This is the person I voted for, and me and him don't agree.
Okay, I understand that. I'm talking about violence, killing, murder.
So I'm gonna go to the gun violence.
Who can write right now?
So
and Dre.
Well, on the gun violence, he wants a national gun registry database. He wants gun ownership licensing requirements. He wants to limit sales at gun shows. National red flag laws. So
all the stuff the criminals they're not going there. They get
actually this is pretty good here.
No, I like that, but I'm saying about the Pookies and the Ray Rays.
Yeah, and I see, and that's the part that I keep trying to talk to people and tell people about. I agree with you 110% when you because you phrase it exactly appropriately. And I know you got to go because we only had a specific amount of time.
I'm having a good time. So just keep going. Don't even remind me. So just
because criminals don't give a shit about a law. They're gonna get what they got. A total of a tool will be that regardless of what a law states. No ifs, ands, or buts, no middle ground. So the question because I've had this exact same question for lawmakers, for legislators, like stop punishing the people that are going and getting their weapons legally, right? Leave them folks alone. What are we doing about all these extra arms that are just out in these streets, right? Who first off, who continues to put these weapons out there? Why are they so easily accessible?
We got ghost printers now.
Right.
Ain't that crazy? They literally like online. That is scary.
And it's not like they just getting like the little BS Taurus 22 or 380s that ain't worth crap. These guys are out here getting the quote unquote Dracos. How do they have this? Where are they getting the money for these arsenals and who's selling them this? That's the illegal portion of it. The people that aren't supposed to have it. Like everybody else is doing the right thing. I'm not finna I'm finna go buy another pistol in a little bit.
Yeah. Ain't nobody disagreeing with making sure everybody got a good background and all that good stuff, and they don't get into the right hands. But they always bring that up because they have an agenda when it comes to our guns. That don't have nothing to do with nothing. They just use it. They always take a movement or take an issue and do this and use it to their political advantage. And it's just disgusting. I
never seen Tommy or Ghost buy a pistol off of power. You know what I'm saying? They get it from the streets. But
Right.
I want to make this thing, and I know Richard want to say a point. A lot of the politicians always go with tougher on crime. I'm either tough on crime or everybody. I want to be loose on crime. It's one of the two. But when you look at other countries that have a low crime rates, they put money back in education to create opportunities for people, right? Because what happens is some criminals, it's a crime of necessity. I got nothing. I got to feed whoever. I got to feed myself. I'm going to take what you got.
I'm almost thinking that's how it used to be. But as time going on, I'm thinking now that it's more culture. And that's
cool.
Like things that we won't address as a community.
Yeah.
That's my main issue, my main passion. But I also know that until my people know who they are, in the Most High, that they are the people of that book and what they got in them. But and that's one thing that I just do not like about the Democratic Party. Stop telling my kids they are oppressed. Ain't nobody over here oppressed, and ain't nobody superior to me but the Most High God. I don't operate like that. I don't operate like that. You can tell history without fear mongering, without making them think stuff happening that is actually not. It's more, to put it like this. I'm not going to even say it's not happening. I'm saying we have to prioritize what's going on and what's important right now. Right now, we are killing each other. Now they done and now we got the housewife, white lives. They got bored, got their agenda. Now they pushing abortion and killing off our generations on us. Like, no. Between our kids killing each other and the women going in there killing their generations off, we're not going to last.
Well, I'm sorry, Rich. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'll make this quick, and I'll let you go, Deuce. So if you go to the border and you stop illegal immigration, a lot of the illegal immigrants who are coming to the Midwest and taking jobs that normally African Americans were working. Hold on a second. You don't want to hear this, but hold on. Wait a minute. Then why don't black folks in Chicago acting a fool about all those illegal immigrants in their city taking their jobs? See, you can't blow that off. You can't.
Let's put it in perspective, right? Let's put some shit in perspective, because
that's what they're saying. That's not what I'm saying. That's what they're saying in Chicago. African Americans were saying that the illegal immigrants were coming and getting the benefits and taking their jobs. So when Nikki was saying we need to work together and stop shooting each other and start working, the jobs that we were getting, those minimum wage jobs, we're not even getting that anymore because of all the flex of the illegal immigration.
Listen, we got to call a thing and show a spade to be a spade, right? This whole black job shit, that rhetoric was created. That was a created thing, and it was a targeted, propagandized, created thing. Here's the truth of the situation, right? It's not so much of a black job, because there's white people that work them jobs too.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's not just black jobs, it's American jobs.
Black jobs. I said the jobs we were taking. I never said black jobs. I said the jobs that we were taking.
Right. But you mentioned Chicago, and you specifically said the black jobs because that's what they're saying. It's a lot of motherfuckers, and I told y'all this not too long ago. There's a lot of people that keep telling me about these dudes named Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John that lived in the Middle East, that talked about another guy named Jesus, but the letter J wasn't fucking invented until 700 years afterwards. So stop telling me this narrative just to push propaganda, because that's an easy thing to swallow. The truth of the matter is there are jobs that are being taken, but if those jobs were filled in the first place, they wouldn't have been taken. If Americans had already filled those jobs, they wouldn't be available.
That's not true.
That's
what they want you to believe. That is absolutely not true. That's like when they say we don't have enough smart people in America, so we have to go over to India and have all those engineers come over here. So what you're saying is we don't have enough smart people who have a work ethic, regardless of their color. In this country, I refuse to give up on my country and on the young people, regardless of their color, their race, their sexual orientation. We have the capability to do anything and everything, but you're going to spend some money for it.
I didn't say that because, hell, I grew up with hustlers. I know better.
Okay.
I know better. But what I'm saying is don't allow this propagandized, nuanced rhetoric of black jobs being taken become what did my man say? The flavor of the day.
Can I say
black
something
jobs.
about that?
I
Can
said
I say
African
no? I
Americans
want
in
to say
Chicago
something
were
about the
saying-
black jobs
You
comment
didn't say black
because
jobs. I
people
said
do
African
this.
Americans
The
in
media
Chicago.
does this all the time
Yeah.
because they know people not going to actually go watch, the congressional hearings or the whole speech or this and that. They take one word out of an hour or whatever long he said, and they make a big deal. Now, he said black jobs. Now, anybody know the context of what it was said in and where he was at and who he was talking to is why he said it. Because he was trying to make a point when you standing in front of a bunch of race hustlers and they beating race, that he's trying to explain to them these things that y'all talking about, they're taking your jobs too. They're in predominantly black neighborhoods. Now, should he have said it that way? Do he say everything right? No, I don't say everything right. I don't hold that against people. The Dems don't. Nobody does because nobody is perfect. But what they do they spin that so you won't focus on the actual issue. Just like they want to make a whole narrative because he got mad and was like they eating the cats and the cats and the dogs. But that was taken away from the actual issue because there are citizens in meetings, they're complaining about them snatching the damn ducks out the lake.
But
I heard that before Trump said that.
the guy made up though.
I'm just saying,
different
don't act like
points.
he be pulling this
made that
stuff out
stuff
his
up,
butt.
man.
But he do say like he be talking. He talk off the fly.
But
That's just what it is.
His homeboy
I can't
said that he
defend
made it
I
up.
can't defend.
His
Who?
homeboy said he made it up.
I don't know
JD
why
Vance.
JD Vance said he made up the dog shit, but that lady was eating them cats. I saw the video. So you tell me she wasn't eating them cats.
Listen,
That lady said she
want-
was eating the cat. So yes, the dogs, they should have left a little Spike out of not. Oh, there goes Spike. Right there. So yeah, but he also said in that same sentence when he said I made up, because nobody cared about those people where he from, and he drew attention to it, and now they focusing on them dang gone Haitians and all them illegals that's taking a rents. They said the landlords are moving people out because they know the government paying them more for rent and stuff like that. So you can't just disregard these people that's saying stuff in all these towns and acting like it's rhetoric. It's coming from somewhere. Even when they say bad stuff about Kamala, I go listen to it. If I see a clip or something, I'll be like, nah, that don't even make sense. Let me go watch exactly what she said. I did the same thing with Corey Bush because I'm from where she is.
Let me say this real quick to Mr. Glass, and then I'll let him run it. When you started your monologue tonight, you said something about facts, and I wrote this down. I said facts are hard to ascertain due to the news media bias and social media bias. No one knows what to believe now.
Oh, that's hold on, time out. There's a lot of things that I will agree with you on, but that is not one.
No.
Right? And let me again, I've explained this to people, and thank you for that, Wanda, Kamala. But there is a such thing as objectivity and subjectivity. Just because people like getting lost in subjection does not mean that there's no such thing as objection. When you are looking for objective truth, it is there, regardless of how we want to feel about it. Just because somebody says something that we agree with and it gives us that good feeling of confirmation bias doesn't mean that there's a real truth out there. 1 + 1 is going to equal 2, goddammit.
Wait a minute. Wait. Hold on. Stop right there. You walked into this trap. I was waiting on you to do that. Okay. So 1 + 1 is 2. That's a universal science, right? But the thing that runs this country, money, comes from economics. And economics is not a true science. It's a pseudoscience. It's a liberal arts degree taught in college. Now, I have a degree in science and finance. And that's what I know. So when they tell you in this country you can't afford to do something, that's some economics, false science. It's not a universal science.
I mean, that's a legitimate point, though, bro. Like, Jay, let me.
Because y'all say money runs everything, and what I'm saying is this idea of money economics, what's scarce and what's not, that's a lie.
You didn't hear what we were saying, because we didn't say that it couldn't be if we can't afford it. We said that that's not how it works.
It
right?
is how it works.
No, it's not. When you have
economics,
budgetary.
Hold on, wait a minute. Let me
There
educate you on
is a
economics.
such
Hold on a second.
thing
Wait.
called Congress.
Brother Rich,
Hold
let
on,
him get his point out, man. Rich,
hold on, wait a minute.
There is a
let him get his point out. Let me get his point out.
there is a such thing that Congress does called the actual fiscal year budget. That's
It's
a
based
thing.
off economics.
I don't give a shit what it's based off of,
You
but
have
it's a
to. It's
thing.
your foundation.
Listen to what I'm saying, right? Because right now the only thing you can hear is a pushback, but you're not listening to what I'm actually saying. There are ways to move money. Different lines of accounting are established, structured, and set forth, right? Just like the military gets over 60+% of the budget yearly, right? Those funds can go elsewhere. Congress has to go back and actually reestablish the appropriations bill to request more funding, go from one LOA to another. If you haven't noticed, Congress ain't been operating for the damn near the last 30 motherfucking days.
Lazy as hell. Lazy as hell.
So I
All
didn't
of
say we can't afford it. I said we haven't appropriated it. It's not been pushed, or the expenditures haven't been outlined correctly.
Again, at the end of the day, you're talking about the problems at the end of the line. I'm telling you to go to the beginning of the line. Why has Congress not appropriated the money? Because it's their opinion on how to spend the money, but the money came out of thin air. And so it's always an opinion based on someone's false assumption off of economics. Because one economist will tell you one way to run the US government, and another economist who may be a Republican may tell you something totally different than that. So at the end of the day, all this appropriation of the money that came from nothing, that part that came from nothing was all based on an opinion. I'm going to print up so much money for you to appropriate. Well, what if I told the Federal Reserve, you're going to print up enough money to fix the homelessness and the universal health care in this country?
Then
They
we
would say,
become
oh, we can't
Zimbabwe.
afford that.
Then we become Zimbabwe.
That's BS. Because economics is, quote, the scarcity of resources. This is from a European man named Mr. Adam Smith. So in Europe, when that word was developed, Europe didn't have a lot of land mass and a lot of economic resources. And that's why they got on ships and went around to Africa and Asia and raided those countries for everything they had, those continents for everything they had, because they didn't have enough to suffice to keep themselves going in Europe. And that's where the word economics comes from.
I know exactly where it came from. That wasn't the debate, right? The debate wasn't where the root word of economics.
Right.
It was it was why Congress, it was why we haven't appropriated finances properly as a country. And I'll maintain a different position, but Deuce, you had something, and I don't want to leave you out either, Spike.
Yeah, man, we went to a lot of places. I was going to say something what Nikki said a couple of turns ago, but I wrote it down. I don't even know what my notes are, so I defer the rest of my time to Spike.
How's everybody doing? How's it going, family? I'm with you, man. I was trying to talk about what Just a Brown Girl was talking about with the black jobs thing, but then we went into the root cause of what economics was, and that just kind of lost me there a little bit. But I don't. What is the what is the topic?
Well, can I just say one thing before I have, because I got my mom texting me and everything. One thing before we go. Just screw it. Start a revolution. Let's go back to the barter system. I'm down with it. We can get this.
I don't know about that, but I can't jump on that bus.
You don't want to get the barter system going?
I got one vote right here. Got one vote right here for the barter system.
We gonna almost be at. Hey,
right,
I'm gonna tell y'all like this though. A lot of people think this. I don't know. I just want to say this before I go, that I really pray and hope my people, us, first of all, we're not a monolith. And I think that's what this election is really showing a lot of people. It's showing us that we are not a monolith. It's showing the world that we are not just whatever they think we are. We are different. We got different beliefs. But at the end of the day, I firmly believe that we all want the same things. We want our kids to prosper. We want to get money. We want to feel safe. You know, thanks, Glass Man. Military, thank you for your service. Anybody else on the military, thank you for your service.
Deuce, Rich.
I just, I enjoyed this. I really enjoyed this. I love having these conversations because they need it. They just need it. I'm gonna share it. I'm gonna share.
And
Let's go to
don't let this be the last time you on here with us. This is what we have these on Wednesday nights for, and then we have a different.
I'll definitely get on, but I will say I started this, and like I said, this journey started for me. I ain't gonna even lie, when Obama was in office, but at the
Okay.
same time, I had just started kind of building a really good relationship with God, kind of like I was going to church, but I had made up my mind at this time, so I was kind of like all in. It's still all in, but now I'm a warrior, so it's a little it look a little different. But
Who are you voting for?
Trump.
Okay.
But like I was explaining, I've been on this journey before Trump. Like I ain't never had an issue with Trump. Nobody called him all these things until he came down to They loved him before until they figured out he wasn't with their bullshit. But other than that, before this journey, there are just some moral things. Like even if, and I'm gonna just say, cause people can think what they want to think about. Even if that was the case, the way that I call them Democrats. I ain't gonna even lie. I try not to offend people and say that today, but I do, because that's the only way that I can kind of, everything they stand for, right? They're not the party we used to know. They just not. They are not those same people. Those are elites. They in with it with Liz Cheney. Come on, man.
You think Trump? You think the Trump party is these?
I'm not talking. I don't do parties.
Okay, you're talking about the Democrat Party, right?
Right. I'm just saying. I was telling the journey of how I end up leaving the Democrat Party.
Yeah, but when you say that, it invites that type of question, and like
it does.
I mean,
you're talking about one party, you're talking about all parties, and so
I think when you lead off like that, it muddles your real message.
Right.
I think it's that point. Yeah, I think your message is good, but when you start off like that, it could.
Well, because I've never been a Republican, I can only speak about me being a Democrat. But now I understand what the conservative message is. Really,
what is
like not what I was told the message was. I understand the conservative message. I would never align myself with a party. I would never do that again, because like Glass was saying before, I'm a policy was best for at this point was best in being informed. People are human. I understand that. Ain't nobody perfect. Kamala ain't gonna be perfect, even though they try to act like she is. They act like she can't do nothing wrong, which it'll actually be more real and authentic if you could just be like, yeah, you know, my bad. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna do better.
You don't think the Trumpers do the same thing to Trump?
Who? Some people, but but I think that's on both ends. But you do have grounded people on both sides. But I will say, just from me watching both sides intensely over the years, the way I have, what I come to the conclusion is, it seems like Democrats never push back, talk bad, or anything. They just go with it. I mean, it's almost like robotic. It's like, that's crazy to me.
I know you say you got to go, but I'd love to keep, you're talking. So I'm going to kind of rebuttal that. I talk to conservatives online. My following is pretty heavily conservative, and I have the absolute hardest time getting them to take anything that Trump does to accountable.
You mean like are you talking about like your guests, the followers? Because that I asked, are you talking about like panelists, guests, and stuff like that?
I'm talking about the same people you're talking about. You said the Democrats never hold Kamala accountable. Is essentially what I
guess I'm talking about more like the media and the people, the figureheads, the people that's like, because we only getting fed propaganda. So I don't hold a lot of things against most citizens, because I know a lot of stuff, because I just started. No, I didn't know I was being brainwashed either. I just didn't know.
Yeah. You don't think you're being brainwashed? Do you think that the conservatives have the capability of brainwashing?
I think all of them have a capability of doing whatever. That's why they be in bed with each other. But the difference is, for me with Trump, is, first of all, when I said years ago, even though I didn't vote for him the first time, but I didn't hate him. I was a little confused because I really wasn't in power. It's like, why they hate him all of a sudden? Like, it was weird to me. I didn't grow up like that. We grew up. Trump, everybody loved. Oprah even asked him to rally. But I was a little confused because you had the Black Lives Matter and the MAGA. So I didn't know.
That's intentional.
MAGA had nobody's gonna go out and wear a MAGA hat.
That's intentional.
You actually bolder than me.
wouldn't heard the man speak, so I know Trump's not a racist. I'll tell you that right now. But Trump's an actor, just like the rest of them are. But I'm just curious.
All got a opinion, but I feel like Trump's message has been the same since the 80s. If you listen to him on Oprah, when she asked him, I'm just saying how he feel about this country, what he think is going wrong, what, he said he'll never run. Now he feel the man never took the check. He don't need to be doing this. The nigga just got shot in the head. Like, he does not have to do this. He don't.
I disagree with that.
He's not a grown politician.
What Trump? Well, he's taking money. His campaign is funded.
A billionaire.
He's a billionaire, but he don't need their money.
He needs it to run the campaign. He money to run the campaign.
He don't need
Both of them are.
First time, but
whether he needs it or not, he's using it to run the campaign.
Put it like this. If I was running for something, we already talk about, we know how the political game work. I'm supporting a Democratic alderman in my neighborhood, in my area right now, because I like him. I see him. He doing the job. So why would I go against that? It's not a party for me. It's not that. Like, if I know you and I think you genuine, even if you coming from a good place and I disagree, I could be like, you really believe that, but your heart good. Because at the end of the day, the Most High look at the heart of a man. And what I don't think is that those people's hearts are right. But what I have seen, and God has always used people that nobody thought that he should use. And I'm going to just say that.
So why can't that be Kamala?
It's all subjective.
Why can't that be
because she has a history. Because she already has a history that we don't like. We're talking about Kamala.
As does Trump.
No, I'm talking about policy.
Trump history is history.
I'm not fooling with the Democrat about. As long as you believe in the stuff. Remember, we talked about the social, all that other stuff. As long as they going in that direction, to where I have to be like, my babies can't, like, I gotta, like, no, I cannot do that. I just can't. I cannot do the whole. And they using them too. They take a move. They infiltrate it, and they use the people to get their agenda across, just like they doing with the LGBT. They deal with the blacks. Now they finna disregard us, and it's finna be the illegals. Yeah, they don't care.
Trump does that with the Christians. They do that with the Christians. They do that with the the whole traditional.
This nation was founded on Christian Judaic values.
I understand, but Christianity has been taken hostage by the Republican Party.
I think radicals will take over a lot of things.
Right,
that's
right. What I'm saying
and I think there's a radical on both sides, but I think it's people like us that need to get the message out, speak the truth, not try to barter for any particular candidate. People like us, regular citizens, the community, talking to each other, communicating, conversating, being able to get through these conversations. A lot of black people can't have these conversations. They get emotional, even when you start talking about.
But we're not monoliths, though. So black people aren't monoliths, right? So they're going to respond to it how they respond to it. That's one of the things you said. So one of the things you said too was you said that you understand the conservative message. Can you just tell me in one sentence what the conservative message is? Like, what is their message?
Basically, in glass, get it from the bootstrap, get it how you live. You know what I'm saying? Work hard. They do believe, and I'm not going to talk about all the politicians because they politicians, but I'm talking about the people. See,
what's the message? You said you understand the message.
Right, I understand the God, the faith message, the foundation of America first, that message. Okay. So America first, God and country. These people first, the kids, making sure we don't have government in every hand that they want to, making sure socialism don't creep in. Like, the government should not have all the hands that they have in every portion of our lives. And they use that stuff to control us. So they don't believe in that. So when you hear somebody say, they might say it all hard, we need to slice it down and take it away. They ain't finna just talking about just shutting everything down, but they are going to trim some fat. And so it needs to trim.
Do you think the government, so I'm just curious, do you think the government putting rules on whether or not a woman can have an abortion, do you think that's government being in our business where they shouldn't be?
I think
Isn't
that
hold on one second.
first of all,
isn't that giving the government really? Isn't that giving them power? Isn't that giving the government power when the government can say, "Hey, you can't have an abortion"? And what you just said was that I don't think the government should have that much power. Isn't that giving the government power?
who the government already, it's in the states. What are you talking about? People
Nikki,
can vote for it if they want it.
Government agencies, right? So the Supreme Court made the rule that said, hey, abortions are no longer, women can't have abortions. It's going to go down to the state. That was a decision that none of us, you spoke with the people, right? We didn't have a choice in that. It just happened to us, right?
Mhm.
So our Supreme Court just said, hey, boom, this is what's going to happen. You didn't have a choice in that. That's a lot of power they have. Would you agree with that? Yes or no?
I think the Supreme Court, and I was actually thinking about this for a couple of days because of all the stuff been going on with the Supreme Court. And when I came to the
power, though? Do you think that's a lot
as far as that, I feel like that issue, yes, should go to the state.
Nikki.
But before Donald Trump presented it, everybody wanted it to the states.
Hold on, Nikki.
Like before, it was okay.
Nikki.
Like, I don't really believe in abortion, so that's not my. I never have because I've watched
I'm not trying to get you on an abortion. I'm just listening to what you're saying.
Nikki,
yeah, you don't want everybody to have all this power.
No,
but then
as far as I'm saying, I'm not okay with none of it.
Okay.
I'm not okay with none of it. I'm just living in the world I'm living in and trying to maneuver it the way it's set up. You know what I'm saying?
Nikki, listen to this, Nikki. I know where he's going with this. See, I know from both sides how they talk to the other side. And what he's basically trying to say is, if you don't want the government involved in everything, then why did you have the government get involved through the Supreme Court to take away the abortion rights? But here's the Republican talk off for that.
Picking and choosing. We're picking and choosing.
Right. I understand that. But here's the Republican talk off for this, Nikki. Their talk off is, we don't want government involved in our personal lives. However, if it comes to protecting an unborn life, then we do want the government to get involved. That was their talk off, but it could be considered hypocritical.
All of it. What I just said. No, what I just said is I don't agree with none of it.
Yeah,
okay.
None of it. None of it. None of that. As far as abortions, women, men, like, why do we shouldn't even be here right now. People are grown.
Period.
Well,
you get what I'm saying? So, but like I said, I'm only living in the hand I was dealt with, the confines of what I'm living in. Even if I was running for office, I do understand that I live with other people. So just because I don't believe in abortion, except for the life of the mother and this and that and that and this, don't mean I would just be like, no, we're not getting abortions at all. Like we're having these conversations because I understand that I'm governing for multiple people. So yes,
I don't mean to get into
with that is the only problem with that is that you get these states that's like heavy, like far left, and they like don't want term limits and shit like crazy stuff, and that's where the argument's coming in at because they're pushing stuff for no term limits. You got certain states that's like they don't want term limits. You got the one, I don't know if that's Carolina or whatever, and he was like, well, you get in a situation and what happens, we take the baby and then we figure out and decide what she want to do. What you mean? That's murder. So that's not cool.
So I think
you mentioned one time how people take snippets of a whole conversation. I went back to listen to that because Trump brought it up. How it was spun when Trump said it was not the entire truth.
But if you look this up online,
I was listening to the man say.
Wait a minute. Hold on. I looked this up online. I looked this up online, and there was a site. God, I should have this right in front of me. It's between 9 and 14 states where you can have an abortion all the way up to like the 9th month. So that wasn't an exaggeration. That was a fact.
Okay, and so let's take that. Let's run with that.
Wait a minute, before you do that, because I do, before we do, I do got a question, and I'm on here with all men because they go so hard, and I just don't understand how they got these people so brainwashed to cut off generations. But I digress. That's neither here nor there. I was just talking to my husband, and we was talking about it, and I'm like, this is crazy, because if you'd have beat me up and made me lose my baby, they would have charged you with assault and murder.
Yeah.
They're going to charge you for murder for something I actually could go do right at Planned Parenthood.
You said
That's
the key
murder.
phrase right there.
Murder.
Something,
Murder.
no,
Murder.
you
Regardless.
asked the question. Are you gonna let me to answer the
And
question?
I didn't actually ask a question. I was making a statement.
You did.
Well,
You said you
did
asked.
say you're gonna ask a question.
You did.
Unless that
What
wasn't a
question did
question.
I ask?
You said you were gonna ask a question.
I were going to ask a question. Do you think that's
Okay.
wrong or not?
Okay, there you go. Go.
All right. So you said a key phrase right there. You said a key phrase. You said, on one hand, if your husband did it, he took away your agency of your body. If he beat you up and you lost the baby, you no longer had the agency over your body to control what's growing within your body. Right. The other thing, you said you choose to go to the clinic using your agency to kill the fetus.
So you're saying that he shouldn't have a right to kill his own baby if I got the right to kill it?
That's a very
that's a good one.
That's a great question. That's a great question. That's a great fucking question.
You don't have a right to kill it? You don't got the right
not the way you said it, no. Not the way that you said it.
No, that's what it is.
Nikki, I love the way you said that. I love the way you said that because that's exactly what it is. It should be down to the two people involved, and both, because there's a lot of times that women will get a man pregnant just to trap a man, right? And so at the same time, so on the same side of that conversation, hold on. On the same side of the conversation, right? Does a man have the right to say, "Hey, I didn't want to get pregnant. You tricked me into getting pregnant. I want to."
Too sad.
And he does not. And he does not. That man will then have to enter into contract. Have to enter into a contract and pay. I'm gay. I'm gay as the day is long. So this, like, I've talked to a lot of heterosexual men about this, and it's terrible, and it's terrifying, right? Because women will also trap men. So what you ask is very, very important, right? But then it goes back to that discussion about who has rights over your body, right? And so it's
not your body. It's not just yours at that point.
Correct. We're
You're an incubator for another life.
We're in agreement. On this point, right?
His facial expressions.
No, I'm debating because you said it's not your body. It is your body, but then when you said you talking about life in your body,
I'm in care of another life.
Yeah.
So here's the point that I was about to make, right? Because it's always a thing about this topic of abortion and abortion rights and body autonomy and then let's be honest with it, because generally speaking, it's the religious right that has an issue with that, right? But this is my pushback against the religious right. Like, if you don't want people to have that choice, to be able to have that decision, you all need to be the first ones on the list for adopting.
Right. Yeah. Now, I also tell conservatives, like I tell them all the time, look, first of all, you can't keep beating this down and being like, do this and don't do this, because without having a follow-up of what you're going to do with the mother that keep the baby.
Thank you.
So my problem with the conservatives is they weak. They message is just off. It's just they let Democrats beat the hell out of them down. Be like, why the fuck you ain't standing up for yourself? Just that. Like, it's so frustrating. So they are weak. Their messaging is off. And then it takes somebody like Trump to just come be regular and be like, look, man, look.
I can't say it takes somebody like Trump, because he's not said anything right. Not some things wrong. There's a lot
that I just used to pretty little lies. That's all.
Trump is old and tired. And my thing is this. What are y'all gonna do when? Because here's what I'm just gonna say. That's why
you gotta look at Vance.
Hold on. I don't give a shit about either one of them. Kamala's gonna win. It's in the cards.
I don't know about that, Spike.
I do not think they're going to let him.
Kamala's going to win. That's what I think, right?
I think they're going to cheat, or they're not going to let him.
Conversation forward, John. We can come back.
I gotta get ready and go, y'all. But I'm gonna be in the comments. Look, I'm finna be in the comments.
You stay in these comments.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna be in the comments. But I have to go because now I'm like getting bombarded. So this is fun. Invite me back. I will talk about social issues too. I'm not a feminist. I'm none of that or any of that. And I love my black men.
Even if you were, we still have you on. I absolutely appreciate your voice. Thank you for being the only person who supports Trump that was actually brave enough to hop on a panel and say it with your whole chest. Herb, we put this out. Yeah, we put this out to the masses. You were the only one that was willing to take us up on that. And I appreciate that. That says a lot about you and your character. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Well, guys, it was nice meeting you all. Richard Glass, thanks for having me. Spike, even though you were late, and Deuce. I do look forward to meeting you and talking to you all again.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Nikki.
I'm open to coming back anytime. I do have a YouTube channel. I actually haven't recorded on it since the beginning of the summer because
put it in the comments. Let's get it going. Let's get it going.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna launch it up. Oh, another thing, I might clip your video up and put it on my page.
Listen, and you might as well stay on here because you're doing the longest goodbye ever. You might as well just stay on this thing.
I know, because I don't really want to go.
Goodbye for like 30 minutes.
we gonna keep the party going though. So stay in the comments.
Right.
We gonna keep pushing. We gonna keep pushing.
Good shit.
I got you. You want me to pull you down? I got you. Oh, she got.
Kamala's gonna win.
I think Kamala is going to win also.
I don't know. I thought the same thing for Hillary.
Oh, I didn't think
debates.
She got 2 votes.
She won the debates. She won the popular vote, but not the electoral vote.
Yeah.
So here's my question. Here's my question on this. When she first entered and she had all that momentum, I thought, wow, she's not going to do any interviews and she's going to pull this off. And I said that was a master stunt by the Democratic Party because they knew that President Biden didn't have it in him to run again. But every time I see these different polls, so if I look at CNN, she's going to win. If I look at News Nation with Chris Cuomo, who knows? If I look at Bill O'Reilly, he says Trump's going to win. If Dr. Lichtman, he says by his 13-point predictor, he's been predicting for 40 years.
49. He's been right 40 of them.
Huh.
Okay. I thought it was 39. He's been right 39 of the 40 years or whatever. So he's saying that Kamala has this in the bag.
She does. She does.
Okay.
It's in the cards. The way, listen, just to piggyback on what you just said. When it all started at that debate. It all started at that debate when it was Biden against Trump. And Biden got in there and he put on a motherfucking show. The man acted like he didn't know what time of day it was. He didn't know where he was at. He was like, oh, the man. And the Oscar goes to. The reason why he did that, the reason why he did that was because he was setting the Democratic Party up to be okay with what they already had planned. Biden was going to step down and Kamala was going to step in. And so when Biden came out and said, you know what, I'm not running anymore, I was like, damn, I knew that shit was going to happen, right? And then when Kamala stepped up, I was like, oh, shit, this is what it's going to be. This is going to be the first woman to be president. It's time. They're ready. Everybody's ready. Everybody is ready for this. And here's one more thing, and I'll shut up, was that what they did was this, because Biden was the old guy, right? Biden was the old guy. Trump was a little bit younger. The thing was, oh, this old man. Who's the old man now? Trump. And it's embarrassing. Trump is lost. He's delusional. It's embarrassing. I'll shut the hell up. Go ahead.
I mean,
so I respectfully...
Let's fight on that. I just want to say this. I can see how easy it is to jump on that train to say that it was all staged. But let's not forget Biden in certain events. He called up a senator that was dead, had died a couple of months before. This is before the election. He calls Zelensky the president of Russia. You gonna call me my mortal enemy? Bro, get out of here, man. Like, please.
That's all design. It's called entertainment, baby. Entertainment.
Hey, bro, the way he fell down Air Force One, come on, man. His body can't hold up to all this entertainment. I don't think that was it, but I do think that the Democratic apparatus, they are pleased with the results. I will say that.
So let me respond with this to Spike. What I was given the information was that the Democratic Party set up Biden to do a debate early, because they never do it till October. He did it early in June because they knew he didn't have it in him. Somehow that information leaked to the Republican Party years ago, so they were on it. And so when he got into the debate and screwed up, now they said, okay, now we can get you out of here. And he got mad and he said, well, since I got to go, the person that you don't want to run, I'm going to endorse, and I'm going to call my man, Congressman Clyburn in South Carolina, for his AOK. And Congressman Clyburn said, well, if President Biden doesn't want to rerun, well, quite naturally, it has to go to Kamala Harris. And that was that.
That's part of it, right? And what the part that's been lost to a lot of people is the actual funding that the Biden-Harris campaign had held on to after the original campaign. That $300 million that nobody else could spend except for one of them. And the Democratic Party, as greedy as those bastards are, they're not stupid by far. They was like, we ain't got too much of a choice. She won't give it to anybody else. So she's either going to spend it now or she's going to hit us later on when we're wanting Jeffries to run, and we're not going to be able to do anything with her.
And one quick response: the only other person that could have raised that $300 million that quickly was Gavin Newsom. He was the only other one that could raise that money.
Real quick,
Gavin and
Biden
Cuomo
now.
before. I think Cuomo could have came back.
Look at Biden now. Have you seen Biden speak now?
Yeah.
All I want to say is this. Have y'all seen Biden speak now? The man is telling jokes. The man has got jokes. He's like freaking calling people out. He's young, fresh, hip. That man is an actor. Give that man the Oscar. I'm telling you, y'all got played. The Democrats got played. I'm sorry. Y'all
Man, listen, but look at the time of his talks. The times are like when old people are like awake. The debate was a little later on in the day. You know, my grandparents used to go to bed like at 8 or 9. They had the debate too late. The talks you talking about are like at 5 p.m. right before his dinner.
Right. That's a great point. I never thought of it like that. But the way they played it, I knew for a fact. So I knew that if Biden wasn't going to do it, it would have to be Harris. Now, what I also stated, and you can ask my lady this, what I also stated is that Harris couldn't bring Jeffries on. She couldn't bring I can't think of his name right now.
Shapiro of Miss Pennsylvania? No,
not Shapiro, because he was a nominee. He was a candidate for VP, but she couldn't bring the brother from Maryland on. Right, I can't think of his name right now. But he's an alpha. But she couldn't because you couldn't have two people of melanin on one ticket and think that they were going to win. She had to have an older white guy at the end of the day because
the white Christian guy.
Yeah. I'm surprised she didn't choose the gay guy. Who's the gay guy? That's
Buttigieg.
Buttigieg. I was like, dude, that would be crazy because she'd have the the mix. I call it mix because she's not black, she's mixed. I think people should own that. The woman's mixed. I don't know why there's so much crap about that, but the woman is mixed. You know what I'm saying? Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Yeah. Give it up.
To you. But anyway, if they would have the woman and the gay, I thought that was going to be like that's who I was rooting for. But anyway,
I think.
Wow.
But if you look at those polls, and this is where Dr. Alan Lichtman, he's confident. But if he's ever going to be wrong on a poll, it'd be this one here. Because allegedly, these polls are only polling more women than men, allegedly, according to Bill O'Reilly. But
let's take that in consideration, right? And because there is truth in that, because women vote more than men, especially in our community. Like there's a bunch of brothers that are talking about Trump. And what I want to say is shut the fuck up, because you ain't even finna get out and vote. Like I don't care if you're voting for Trump, by all means, support your candidate. But if that's what you're gonna do, if that's what you're gonna say, stop simply grifting off of people and go vote. I made a TikTok about that. Like these jokers are out here, we finna join the Trump train. Man, first off, half of these motherfuckers are felons. They're not leaving the front, they're not getting out the door. They're not going to go vote. So I can't take a lot of us serious, a lot of brothers serious that are screaming MAGA, MAGA, MAGA. There are some that I know that dedicated to it and they have their justifiable reasons, and we've talked about it and I've heard them out, and it's fine. I'm just happy they're voting. But for all these other guys that are out here screaming and bumping their chest, shut up.
Well, hold on.
One quick point on that. Never happened because these cats were all talking no play. So they were like, "Oh, wait for the red wave," and Trump lost that election, and then they couldn't get over it because your asses didn't freaking show up at the polls.
But hold on, let's go back to 20. Let's go back to 20 for a second, because 20 in my lifetime was the first time I saw the African American athlete coming out loud and saying we're voting, and I saw rappers coming out saying we're voting. So when they said a lot of black people didn't vote in the 20 election, I'm like, I don't agree with that. I think a lot of black people voted for Biden.
I think it was sold like that. I think it may have been sold like that. I don't think our numbers changed like horribly far. I think a younger segment of us began to vote like we always do. And when we're generally speaking at a younger area of our lives and our culture, we tend to vote Democratic. As we continue, we either become conservative or we begin to vote progressively, right? But we generally begin after a certain area of life to break directly away from voting streamlined Democrat because of everything that we're promised that we never get. And we after a while, we get sick of it. But like Spike was saying, to his point, they thought the red wave was going to be coming because this isn't the first time we've heard this rhetoric, and it's happening again. So the shoes came out, right, to pander to us, which was absolutely very disrespectful. The whole thing about the mugshots came out, which was another very. I don't align myself with no goddamn criminal. I don't know what it feels like.
Yeah, but that red wave he's referring to was in 22. That's a midterm, and so oftentimes minorities don't turn out a lot in midterms.
Okay, I can concede that.
Fair.
So,
I can concede
that's
that.
possible. Listen, if they say you can't push a Republican or a Democrat when you're entrenched with your parties, except for a few exceptions, and now they're saying, okay, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Georgia, oh gosh, North Carolina, maybe Arizona, Nevada, the swing states. And they're saying certain counties in these swing states will decide this election. And the question I've been asking everybody, Democrat and Republican, how many white women in those swing counties are going to vote for former President Donald Trump? That's the question I've been asking.
Yeah, and I don't think it's as many as it's being publicized because they want bodily autonomy. That's what they're like. The huge thing is like, oh yeah, this, these young black women, they want their abortions. No, it's not us. That's like that. Do we do it? Yeah, we do it. We do. But on a larger scale, no, it's not us. It's just like affirmative action. That shit wasn't started for us. We weren't the biggest beneficiaries of that. That was white women.
You couldn't tell a Republican Party that.
No, they knew the truth. They spun it. And they gave everybody a villain. They gave everybody a villain. They pointed the finger to people. They spun that narrative and they created that story. They knew the truth behind it, though. So whenever it was debated, whenever I've heard people debate it, right, especially a conservative, a hardcore media mogul get somebody attacking, they shift, they lift and shift it really, really quickly, and they want to get out of that arena because that fire is hot as shit, especially when you start talking the stats on it. Then they directly run away. So
the one issue, and Nikki showed it tonight, the one issue that the Republican Party can't pull off is the abortion issue, and they should walk away from that. Illegal immigration, Second Amendment, the LBGT issue, the transgender, those are winning arguments for them. But the abortion issue, they should walk away from.
It's too late. They've dug in.
Yeah, something that you guys were talking about that I just wanted to just touch base on, and then I gotta get out of here. We gotta get some food. But was the black jobs thing. The black jobs thing I wanted to talk about because first of all, Trump was pandering. He was pandering, and conservatives, they will not own that. They will not own the fact that the man was pandering because you can't tell what a black job is to save your damn life. But to push the conversation forward, where they missed it, because he said black and brown jobs, so he was pandering to the colored people. He was pandering to colored folks, right? And so conservatives, they can't own that shit, right? But here's where I'm gonna make y'all kind of be like, well, what the fuck? Is because he's the thing about it, this whole immigration shit is this is what I personally feel about it. We are being replaced. And I know it's going to sound crazy coming out of my mouth, but we are being replaced. The American civilian, I don't give a fuck what side you're from, what color shade you are, we are being replaced, right? We want too much. We want to be respected on our jobs. We want to earn a significant amount of money, and we don't want to work that much, right? Because that's who we are. We're entitled to that. And honestly, that's the way it should be. These corporations, fuck these corporations, right? But because of that, the government, which I believe is purple, that's just my shit. That's why you see this. The government, which I believe is purple, they're on the same team. They're the same people. Doesn't matter who you vote for. You vote for one color. It's purple, right? They are letting all these immigrants in because listen, how long has the border shit been an issue? My entire life. I'm 43 years old. The border has never been closed. It's always been an issue my entire fucking life. If they wanted to close the border, they would have closed the damn border. They don't want to close the border because they want to let these new people in, because these new people are more docile than we are. And they will, and it's not their fault. It's not these immigrants' fault, right? We're going about it wrong. This is where the conservatives are fucking up. They're looking at them as the enemy, and that's just this purple fucking government shaking the jar. That's just shaking the jar, right? They're giving them all this housing, they're giving them loans on their housing, shit like that, and they're doing that and they're broadcasting information to make these Republicans mad because this is the new division. This is how they divide, right? The same shit happened with COVID. The same shit happened with black and white, gay, straight, Chris. They're very, very skilled with dividing people, and one of the ways they do it is they make the other party look like they're getting everything for free and you're not getting nothing, right? They did the exact same thing in COVID. People who got vaccinated, you can go out, you can do all these things. The unvaccinated, you can't do anything, right? I don't want to get into that. That's what happened, right? We all lived that. That's what it was. You guys can get into it if you want to, but that's what this is about. And so we need to, what I think the problem is on both sides is that we need to stop fighting each other with this shit and realize, oh shit, we are being replaced. We are being replaced. These people will come in, they'll work for less, they won't complain, and they'll be happy about what they have. And you know what I'm saying? And so it's just like, and then on top of that, like the whole fucking robotics world that's taking over it, and that's job. That's what's taking your job.
First of all, thank you, Tesla, because I bought some Tesla options. I swung that mug. Bro, after I seen that, after I seen that stupid taxi cab joint,
you know,
yo, Tesla was at 208. It's not a finance thing, but it is up there. But AI is scary, man, because I know you said it's for Americans, but I'm gonna take it back to black folks. We are not in STEM. We are not the ones developing AI. We are not the ones programming it. We are the first line to be replaced by AI. And I think people say, oh, it's down the line, it's down the line. I even see people talk bad or trying to put the brakes on the Tesla exhibit with the automatic taxi and the little AI robot. There was something else out there. I think it's closer than what we think, man. Right?
It's yesterday. It's yesterday and 10 years ago. You know what I mean?
Deuce, 2014, when I was out in California and I stayed on Moffett, I don't know if you remember seeing those little robots that they had out on what was it? Yeah, in the parking lots. They had those robots, the security guards that were out there in 2014, right? They had the self-driving vehicles 2015, 2016 in California while we were out there. Also, it was started out as Waymo and then Google, so on and so forth. So I had been saying this several years ago. I said, by the time our children graduate college, AI will have replaced 20 to 25% of the job of the career field. I said that years ago, right? And Spike, to your point, you were correct, right? There was another study that was done a couple of years ago. I said this as well. Even when they were saying that our culture were between 11 and 13%, I got to start taking notes, like I said, dude. So I got to start writing this shit down instead of memorizing it. But they were saying that our population was at 11 or 13%, and then they began to separate the black and brown, and they said that the brown population was sitting right at about 10.5, 11%. And then they gave the numbers, and all of a sudden, the brown community at that time had pushed forward to 16, 17, almost 20%, right? That was several years ago. Now, they began to miss the mark, right? And this becomes the why. You're 100% correct. Americans, we get complacent fast, and we want more for less, right? Rightfully so. We're the richest nation in the world. God damn it, give me mine. Give me mine. However, you have to keep capitalism going, and everybody cannot be rich. Everybody can't be. That ends capitalism. America is a capitalistic society with undertones of religion to help spread the gospel of capitalism. That's what's happened, and that's true.
So let me throw this in. Let me throw this in real quick. Someone asked me to read this article, like a pamphlet, and he said that every great empire has a 240, 260-year reign. You read it too, okay? So the Roman Empire, they had two. The Roman Empire and the Roman Republic, they had two reigns. Okay, everyone's. Well, one of my cousins said, Richard, we're at the end of our reign.
Yeah.
If if you're right, Spike, about this AI, and Deuce too, and you too, Mr. Glass, if you're right about this AI, then this country will have to become socialism, because if you don't create enough jobs, then you have to print the money that you've been printing for free. You are going to have to provide social justice money to people to not work.
Y'all
So
better go.
what do you want?
But here's the scary thing with that, Richard. To add on to what you're saying, to jump onto that train too, I think the scariest thing outside of AI is the power of the dollar and the influence of the dollar. It's losing, right? Because listen, I was at the at Swit. Let me not say that. Anyways, I was at a place, right? A lot of smart people that are American First type cats, right? That was working there, and I brought up BRICS, and I said, "Yo, I see a lot of countries are aligning with BRICS, and they're working on creating their own currency. A couple countries in Africa are trying to do their own thing too, but BRICS is pulling these countries off of the American dollar standard and replacing it with their currency, right? That's competition for the dollar. That's one of the things that people don't know that. And one of the things that why the American military is so great is to protect the American interests, i.e. the American dollar and our country's reliance on it, right? If these countries pull their reserve bank off the American standard and start trading something else, we lose influence in the world. I think that might even happen before. And if that happens and AI takes over, we won't be able to create that social society that you're talking about.
So wait a minute, hold on. I had this argument in college, in class, and all my classmates jumped on me, and the teacher defended me. I said, in 20 or 30 years, I said this back in 2006 or 7. I said, in about 20 or 30 years, the US dollar will not be the number one currency, but it will always be, and this is where I'm betting on, quote, the European American's prejudice. I'm betting on this. I'm betting on him, that it will always be the most revered. So in other words, the US dollar may lose its number one currency position, but if I go out here and rob 6 liquor stores and they ask me when I run to Brazil, how you want your money exchanged, or how do you want to hide your money in? The US dollar is where I'll hide my money in any country in the world, even if it ain't the number one currency, because I'm betting on the arrogance of my country, our country, and I'm betting on the CIA to do their job.
Okay. Team, I'm gonna say this one last controversial thing for y'all just to consider, and maybe Mr. Glass, you talk about it on the next one.
No, don't throw it out here. He's gonna throw it out here and dip. I know what you're about to do, man. I know that move.
Listen, I've not said this out loud to anybody. Okay, I've not said this out loud.
After you say some final thoughts.
You doing final thoughts?
Yeah. So go ahead. After you say it. No, after you say it, you got to say it now. You started.
Okay, I'm gonna say it. Okay, cool. I'm gonna say it. This is what I truly, in my heart of hearts, believe. I said this in a post before, but I didn't really go into detail with it. What I'm gonna say is this, because what I said was this. I said that Trumpers are not ready for Kamala to win, and Biden folks or Harris people are not ready for Trump to win. And that's what we aren't. We're not having that conversation, right? What's going to happen with either one of them? What's going to happen when either one of them win, right? And what I said was, I said, what we're not talking about is that, again, I think the government's purple, right? And I think this is all strategic. I think we are gearing up for the next civil war. This is what I honestly think. I think there's a lot of angst. There's a lot of shit going on. A lot of it's online, right? I will give that the benefit of the doubt, right? That maybe this is just an online thing. I'm thinking too much into it. I will meet you there. But at the same time, the way everything is happening, the way we haven't had any choices in any. The people voting for Harris, they did not choose Harris. That was chosen for them. Hold on. The people that chose Trump, same fucking position. That's where we are alike. They didn't choose Trump and we didn't choose Harris. Those were decided for us. They're purple, right? So what I truly think is this, is that, and I hear you on the primaries. What I truly think is this, is that this is going to be the last election. I've never said that out loud. I think if this is going to be the last election, I think there's some, especially if we're at the end of our dynasty. Just listen. If we're at the end of our dynasty, okay, I truly think that this is going to be the last time that anybody's ever going to have a choice in anything, the supposed choice, because I don't think there was ever a choice to begin with. But I think this is going to be the last election. That's my, and I'll do final thoughts with y'all. Go ahead.
All right, I'm writing that down.
Yeah.
Writing that down.
I got it at 248 years. From 1776 to 2024, I have us at 248 years, if my math is right.
Are you for real? When we fall down, I hope we fall down like the UK. Because the UK, it was more like a stumble. It was like a Joe Biden stumble. You know, Joe Fall is always slow.
All right, that's the transition music. That's the transition music. Let's go ahead and move into final thoughts. I need to make sure that that's not too loud.
It sounds good on this end.
Yeah, it sounds good to me.
Okay, all right. Maybe it's just my headphones then. My bad. All right, so final thoughts starting out with Rich. It's on you.
Oh, boy, you came at me quick tonight. So, all right, let me see if I can get this done in 2 minutes. I love tonight's conversation. I wish that Nikki could have stayed on a little longer. You know, there's some good things about the Democratic Party. There's some good things about the Republican Party. And then the other parties, their voice is completely silenced. And that's a problem. So when I became a no political party preference individual, you know, I want everyone to have a voice. And not one party has the keys to the afterlife. And so in this great country, we've got some deep character faults in our foundation. But I haven't lost hope for our country or for our people. And even though we can't trust a lot of things we see in the media, it gets reported as facts, and then it comes out later that they weren't really facts. So there's so much confusion in social media, on the internet, even on news stations. You know, news stations are not like they used to be when they were really journalistic. Now they have an opinion because they got shareholders they're trying to answer to so they can compete with the other news stations. Everything is in a free-for-all. We've been hearing for years about possibly a civil war. That movie, The Purge, I don't know. So I'll end it with this. What Spike said, if the Democrats lose, can they accept the fact that former President Donald Trump has won again and got through all these court cases? I don't know. Can Donald Trump, if he loses, can he accept that he lost a second straight time and he had 4 years to stop all the corruption in the ballot box and he was unable to do it? Can he and the Republican Party, can they accept defeat? I don't know. I'll have to check back with the Confederacy and see if they've accepted defeat from I don't know. So at the end of the day, do I see something good coming for this country in the next 20 years? No, I don't. But I still have hope. I'm done.
All right. Spike, I know you got to go and get you something to eat, so let's get you up here next.
Thank you so much, the family bloodline, for having me on. As I love being on the show. There's my cat Lola right there. She's hungry. This is all I gotta say, guys. Is the thing that I want you to understand most. The question I want you to ask yourselves most is, what am I being asked to believe? Whatever comes across your FYP, across your TV, across your social media, on YouTube, ask yourself, what am I being asked to believe? And do not for a second think that your own government, they're purple by the way, is not above propaganda, okay? And propaganda is very, very skilled. It takes a strong skill set to make propaganda, and it's very believable. And where they got us most is our emotion, okay? We are emotional people, and they can tie you in, right? They got the gays, they got the Christians, they got the blacks, they got the whites, they got them all, right? And they got us by our balls and our vaginas in emotion, okay? So tap out before you get, I don't know what the hell I'm trying to say, but anyway, I love y'all. That's my time. I was trying to make something rhyme, and I
Appreciate it. All right. Deuce, where you at? First off, Deuce, let me say, that's a nice mic you got there, my friend. I like that.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. My next thing, step up, is gonna be a camera, man, because I was late because I had camera issues. I want to say I appreciate being on here too, man. Yo, James, you do a wonderful job moderating, man. Rich, your passion shines through. And Spike, first time I met you, man, I appreciate your thought-provoking questions on how you deliver it, man. It's boom, boom, really fast. Just kind of like tag on to what they said. The future could be bleak. I also have hope. I think, once again, we're looking at the wrong game, man. It's checkers, not badminton. It's capitalism. It's raising funds to get the right people in office. I will push back a little on what Spike said about the puppet master in the government. I think back in the day they were, but bipartisanship is decreasing, and I think we're getting more idiots up there now, right? So I think that makes it real scary. And it goes to Rich's point: when you start getting a weak government, an idiotic government, things start to crumble, and we're more divided. We're growing more divided by the minute, right? People can't even have intelligent discourse. So I think conversations like this, being a template to the 4, 5, 6.5 people that's watching us, being the template they can share and this could grow. I think that's a key thing, man. So I really appreciate this conversation. And James, thanks for bringing these people together and we all talking and no one's cutting the person. We're cutting the ideals, you know?
That's, yeah.
I can dig it.
Yeah.
I can dig it. So for my final thoughts, I've been holding on to this for a while, and I'm going to explore this a little bit more Friday as I begin to read different things that our politicians have been charged with.
I'm going to transition to the Friday show. I see what you're doing there. I see what you're doing there. Instruct your stuff.
Hey, we got to keep it moving, man. What I will say, I was listening to a clip by George Carlin and the respectable comedian from yesteryear, and I've always liked listening to him. He was an atheist in his own right, but an intellectual nonetheless. When he said that I don't really complain about politicians, and he gave this grandiose gesture as to why. But at the end of the day, he said, "Listen, these politicians aren't coming out of some far out destination. They're not coming from this alternate reality. They're not coming from this alien planet. We are electing these politicians. So maybe it's not the politicians that have an issue, because the politicians are nothing more, nothing less than the reflection of the public. They are us. That's who our politicians are. They are us. And if we want to take our politicians seriously, and if we want to talk crap about our politicians, my fellow Americans, we have to look in the mirror and look at ourselves and say, what the hell are we doing? Because that is us, America. $17 million. We've paid $17 million to settle cases from our politicians, from an account set up by the U.S. Treasury, funded by the taxpayer. So I will end my final thought there. And
can you send that link to us?
Politicians, we pick the right politicians, man.
That link that can you send us that link for Friday?
No, nobody's talking to you. Stop.
Can you send us that link?
I'm gonna say this. It's not the politicians. The politicians are good, man. It's the Jew space lasers that drill into their heads and make them senseless, man. That's what it is. It's the Jew space lasers, man.
Yes,
can you send us that link? So for Friday night, oh God, what time you come on Friday night? Is it 7 o'clock your time?
I love y'all.
Spike, man.
So Friday,
can you send us that link that you're reading? Can you send us that link
that I'm reading? Yeah, I'll definitely send that out. The actual live for Friday, I have to go in and set up for us. So as soon as I set the live up, I'll push it out for anybody who wants to participate. Dirt and Wanda be on also. But the articles I'll show you. Well, yeah. Long story short is yes, I will send those links out so you can look at them, you can go through them, you can digest them. And
so Friday is normally 6 o'clock your time, or is it 7 o'clock?
It's 10 o'clock my time on Fridays.
And you're in Kentucky?
Yep. So I'm Eastern at 7 o'clock your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
I got you.
Oh, it's late your time then. Okay.
Yeah. I gotta go to bed. I got a bunch of students in the morning. I'm on the podium all morning, just about. So with that being said, as always, good people, thank y'all for hanging out with us. We will be putting this on Spotify, clipping it and spreading it and pushing it. If y'all didn't notice, one thing that didn't happen tonight is nobody died because we talked about politics. We actually, in some areas, we came to a general consensus, and we were all like, no, it's these politicians, right? Mm-hmm. So I said all that just to say that it is possible to have civil discourse about politicians without hating your fellow countrymen. It is possible, and you don't have to agree.
If you notice, Our conversation goes back to that money. See, I've never disagreed with Juice about that money. What I've said is when you allow the Fed to print up your money and they give it to you and you pay the Fed back with interest,
yeah.
you should be printing up your own money from your own bank. And then if we owe another country money and they say, well, you owe us $6 trillion, come get it.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I'm with you 100% on the Federal Reserve thing. I think, yeah, I'm with you.
I think that because the Federal Reserve sits back and they can just have so much power. So you can use race, you can use religion, you can use sexual orientation, you can use the border to just have people screaming at each other from the two major sides. It's the most brilliant hustle I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's amazing, especially when you dig in and you start actually reading it and looking at the work and how it's laid out. It's mind-boggling. Like, whoa, you have to be a straight genius, a serious genius to be able to do this. But anyway, I got to get some sleep. Y'all been anywhere else in the world? I appreciate y'all for hanging out. Again, these keep going longer and longer. We had 2 hours and 15 minutes this time, gentlemen. It's amazing.
Man,
That's
I didn't
amazing.
know it lasted that long, man.
I know, right? I know.
I'm not gonna let y'all give me another conversation. No. Rich, love you, bro. James, love you. I'm out. I would not let. I'm out.
I promise. Thank y'all for hanging out. God bless and good night.